You know, I had like this entire bit planned out in my head about some random ass viewer getting offended because I'm talking about a mainstream comic from a big mainstream comic publisher and not an indie or a manga, because God knows I have distanced myself very much so from the likes of Marvel and DC. And then I realized that nobody gives a shit. So, hello, when was the last time that we have done this? Like, all of this in general, just me talking about a comic, let alone a goddamn mainstream comic, not a web comic or a manga, as I said before. So, yeah, we're talking about a comic that I recently finished, finally, after, like, reading this when it first came out. I only just now finished Harleen, the 2019 comic published under the DC Black label by the one, the only Steven Sepchik. Steven Sepchik is probably one of my favorite artists working in the industry right now, and when I heard that he was making a retelling of the Harley Quinn origin story, I was ecstatic. In case you don't know who Steven Sepchik is, he's quite a prolific artist. He's done covers for Aquaman, Suicide Squad, Justice League. He's also worked on comics like Witchblade, but my favorite comic from him, and the one that I absolutely refuse to shut the fuck up talking about, is Sunstone, which he makes with his co-partner slash wife, Lydia Sepchik. In case you're not following these two on Twitter, it's well worth giving them a drop. Like, take it from someone who is barely on Twitter, doesn't use it anymore, and I follow like a shit ton of artists whose artwork I never see, but like, if you have like a website or a Twitter, I'm gonna be following it, Chief, because your artwork is amazing and I love it. I'm gonna be including time codes in this video because YouTube has that whole update where the time codes are in the fucking video player. So in case you want to skip ahead to me actually talking about this comic and why you should read it, even though you already know what this is, you already know how this story is going to end, skip ahead, because right now I'm going to be discussing the origin stories of Harley Quinn and my personal feelings on her for those who probably don't know. Harley Quinn was originally created by Paul Danny, I honestly forgot, and Bruce Timm in the 1992 Batman the Animated Series, where she was first introduced as Joker's sidekick. She would later go on to be canonically introduced into the DC comic universe, and over her 20 plus years of existence, she has gained quite the fan base and quite the popularity. Honestly, I do kind of believe that is from her movie appearance in Suicide Squad, despite how fucking shitty that movie is. But Harley has always been quite the fan favorite character ever since her original appearance in the absolute pinnacle of perfection that is the Batman animated series. God fucking damn it, Netflix, why did you take it off? Thank you for Avatar, but why did you take it off? And yeah, she is definitely one of my favorite DC characters for many a reason, but I am going to not beat around the bush here and tell you that Harleen Quinzel is a domestic abuse victim, and that was what she always was. Her original inception and origin as Joker's sidekick portrays her as a psychiatrist who was tasked with rehabilitating the Joker, but of course, that's not what happens when you're tasked with rehabilitating the Joker. Harleen Quinzel, during her time with the J-Man, was manipulated by him. She was then turned into the one and only Harley Quinn with a deep love and infatuation for her puddin', Mr. J. But let's be honest, when we think Harley Quinn during the 90s Batman, we probably think about one of the best, the most powerful, and the most terrifying scene of the series with her in it.
You always take shots from folks who just don't get the joke.
My fault. I didn't get the joke.
It is one of the best moments in the series for all the right reasons, especially when considering the demographic for the Batman series. This aired on daytime TV, I believe. There was a lot of teenagers and children watching this show, and this show was fucking scary. I mean, it was terrifying. We all remember what the fuck happened when Joker got his hands on Robin. Don't you fucking argue with me, okay? It was fucking scary, man. That show, oh, that was such an amazing show. Since then, Harley Quinn has seen much evolution over the years, and according to my memory, the time where I saw a lot of transition from her was between the mid-aughts to 10s. I remember her just kind of always being by Joker's side, especially in his mainline stories, but she also had a few standalone moments, and a lot of those times she was a comedic character. I especially remember this one time in somewhere between the 10s to the mid-10s where she was committing suicide, and DC asked the readers, how do you want to see Harley Quinn die? And of course it was in a comedic way, but somewhere in that timeline Harley Quinn became more of her own character. She underwent a change in her origin story where she fell into the same vat of chemicals as the Joker. And get ready, because you are going to hear some clawing at my door because Jewel wants to be led into the room, but I can't because there's shit by the door. So obligatory Jewel warning right now, because it happens every video. You can always hear her in every video. It was either during, before, or after her brief change in origin story that Harley began to leave the Joker and become more of her own person. Harley then canonically became bisexual and entered a relationship with Poison Ivy, which obviously I prefer her relationship with Ivy far more than Jay, because that relationship is somewhat more healthy. In fact, it is a lot more healthy than her relationship with Joker. Harley being with Joker, every time I saw it, it was always just abusive and manipulative. Every time it seemed like the Joker loved Harley and Harley came to his defense, you always knew how sinister it was. There was this weird time where DC tried to rewrite their relationship, as in the Joker kind of sort of did love Harley, but that whole thing is just a mess that I do not want to touch. I mean, the Joker being in love is such a fucking weird idea and concept that only the 2019 film pulled off, but even then, and I'm not gonna spoil it, but even then, it worked because it wasn't supposed to work. So we're now in that point in Harley Quinn's evolution where she is just leaving the Joker for good, and she's either by herself with Ivy, still being a villainess, still doing whatever the fuck Harley Quinn does best. There has been many adaptations of this character, many iterations, from the current kind of fast-paced, witty adult comedy series that's on the DC streaming service, to her portrayal by Margot Robbie, which I personally really like Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. I just hate the material she's given. I didn't watch Birds of Prey for a reason, because I knew they were going to bastardize not only her, but the Birds of Prey themselves. Now when we see Harley Quinn, we can see her in many ways. We can see her as her own villain. She's still comedic. She can help the Batman whenever she damn well pleases. There was that unfortunate time where she raped Nightwing, but that's like a whole other story that maybe I'll go into, because I only know the first half of that story, not the second. I heard it kind of got better. Maybe it didn't. Maybe I'm just lying to myself. I don't fucking know. Personally, my favorite version of Harley Quinn is her being a symbol of strength. Now, this is the part of the video where I get on my soapbox and I encourage you to please donate or give your time to a cause or a service that aligns with what we're talking about today. And this, of course, being a charity for domestic abuse victims. I am not going to link any charities because I am well aware that there are international viewers on this channel, so I'm instead going to kind of give you some advice on what you can do in your country or region. The first thing being is to just support your local domestic abuse hotline, or you can also support your local men, women, and children's shelter. And the third thing that you can do is to just simply Google whatever nonprofit is available in your country and find the one that works best for you, because God knows there are many in this world. If you're in the UK, you can support the Mankind Initiative, which is for male victims of domestic abuse. There are tons of initiatives in Canada, and there are also tons of charity for children who are unfortunately victims of domestic abuse and providing those young ones with the services that are needed. So please consider doing something like that, and especially during this time where unfortunately, domestic abuse cases are getting worse and are on the rise due to those people being trapped with their abusive roommates, family members, partners, whatever, in quarantine. Things are unfortunately getting worse right now. And if you have the funds or the time, you can help right now. So please consider doing just that. In my ideal Harley Quinn ending, it is a very boring one. I want an ending for Harley where she leaves Jay and she goes off with Ivy and they have a rough patch. They have this rough time where they're trying to be good, be normal functioning members of society, but they don't know how to shred all of that pain and all of that evil from their past, but they find a way and they get back on their feet. And Ivy does good for the world and Harley does good for the world. Maybe she's helping people who were in her situation. Maybe she finds redemption. Maybe she's helping Bruce Wayne in the Batman and she's trying to find forgiveness, but a lot of people don't forgive her for her past and her deeds, but she wants redemption. She's trying to find redemption and it is so hard for her and for Ivy, but they don't want to go back to the people that they were. But it takes a lot of time to be forgiven for what they did, but maybe they eventually come to terms and they do find value in what they have and the forgiveness that they have, and they understand that a lot of people really fucking hate them because they killed people. They took people away from their loved ones, and it is incredibly hard for them to do. But it's about what they give back into their society that matters the most, and just not going back to the way that they were. That is the ending that I want for Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. An ending where, like the Phoenix, they rise from the ashes and are reborn anew and are just trying to make such a horrible, corrupt world just a little bit better. That's all I want for them. Be gay, do crime. Wait, no shit, that's not what I want for them. Okay, so now for this beauty of a book. Why the hell should you read Harleen? Why bother reading a comic where you already know the beginning, the middle, and the ending to it all? Obviously, this is a Harley Quinn origin story, and you already know the origin of Harley Quinn. This is the original origin of Harley Quinn, where she's the psychiatrist in asylum trying to help the Joker, but everything fucking happens. So why even bother? What's the point? Well, to put it simply, you should be reading Harleen because it still finds ways to shock you. In Steven's version of the Harley Quinn origin story, Harleen Quinzel is a young 30-year-old psychiatrist who is looking for funding for a project. This is a rather tricky and risky project because she wants to get up close and personal with some of Gotham's worst. She wants to interview and analyze the villains that are currently in Arkham Asylum and try to find out what makes them tick and how she can rehabilitate them. Harley bombs her presentation and she thinks that it is just going to be a giant stain on her career. She goes out and drowns her sorrows in booze with her friend, and when leaving, she crosses paths with the Joker, who's doing what he does best. The Joker then literally holds a fucking gun to her head, and she is scared shitless. It is at that moment that we learn that Harleen Quinzel is a very, very flawed woman with a lot of regrets. And in that moment when the Joker holds a gun to her head, maybe it's not such a bad thing that she dies. But for some reason, the Joker doesn't pull the trigger, and the Batman comes in, does what he does best, and Joker is sent back to Arkham Asylum. From that point on, Harleen is effectively traumatized by the Joker in her near-death experience. But shortly after, things are starting to look up for Harleen. Bruce Wayne has taken notice of her project and is giving her the funding that she needs. She packs up her practice and transfers over to Arkham Asylum, where things are looking up Harleen. And of course, they come crashing back down. Harleen's new home in Arkham is very cold, and the interviews that she conducts aren't going very well. Not only that, but at some point she's going to have to face a Joker, and she is still effectively traumatized by that night. She is not sleeping because, of course, trauma, but then she drowns her sorrows in booze, and then she just drinks coffee after coffee, just trying to avoid the nightmares that plague her. But sooner or later, she is going to have to face him because the way that he haunts her, she just can't keep up with it, and that's what she does. Harleen gathers her courage, faces her fears, and she goes off to conduct an interview with the Joker, who is in solitary confinement. And of course, we all know what unfortunately happens from here. You expect for Harleen to fall in love with the Joker. You expect for her to find inner conflict and lose her way and herself, all eventually leading up to that fateful moment where she snaps and she finds out, yes, the Joker was right, and she turns into Harley Quinn. You even expect for her to get horny as fuck over him and to have wet fucking dreams about him and for them to eventually bone on the table with the camera off. But even so, there is so much tension in this comic that by the time I finished issue 2, I didn't think I could read the third. I was just begging for Steven to give me something else, to save this woman who I cared about so much. But even then, it's not gonna happen, and even then, my jaw still hit the floor. By exploring her story, Steven still finds ways to add something new to this character. When I think Harleen Quinzel in her original Inception in the 90s series, she is extremely stoic. She is just a stone-faced psychiatrist who just kind of fell for Joker along the way. But in this version, she is so incredibly flawed. Harleen Quinzel has more depth than I have ever seen her have before. She's a woman who is riddled by her past mistakes and her regrets, and she just cannot find a way to shake loose from them. She's someone without a lot of confidence who holds her head down and has no idea why the fuck she's still even here in this practice when she's fucked up so badly. She is constantly sure that at some point her career is just going to be over because despite being a very good psychiatrist, her past still haunts her. People bully her about it and she just takes it at face value because she's so used to it. When the Joker holds her at gunpoint, it is a very natural reaction that she would be traumatized by him, that she would want to stay away from him. The nightmares, the PTSD, she should be treated for this trauma, but she never gets treated. Even in Arkham, where her work seems to be going very slow and she suffers from compassion fatigue, she never gets treated. She instead treats herself with booze. In a way, it kind of seems like Harley is rushing herself into an early grave because she's just not taking care of herself, and that's so sad to see, but also so ironic for a therapist to do. So in this version of Harleen Quinzel's story, we can immediately tell she is not a social person, who lacks confidence, has very bad habits, and it's just, she needs a hug. I want to hug her. But despite all of that, she's in a very noble profession. She's someone who wants to help people. That's why she's doing this project in Arkham. She just wants to figure out how to rehabilitate the inmates to not only give them better lives, but to give the citizens of Gotham better lives. Because think about it. Think about a Gotham City where the Riddler and Ivy are actually helping people. Like, Ivy is making beautiful gardens and the Riddler is an author of mystery dramas, and Mr. Freeze, who every time I say that name my heart immediately breaks because I just remember the Heart of Ice episode of the 90s series, and that is like, that man also needs a hug. But what if Mr. Freeze was able to return to his work as a scientist? If every inmate in Arkham Asylum was cured and rehabilitated, it would be a better world. But of course, Gotham City is shitty and that ain't happening, Chief. But even then, Harleen still had hope and faith in herself and her skills and in the people in Arkham to make a better world. But then you have the Joker, who is just evil incarnate, and we see this brilliant young psychiatrist turn into the person that we have on the cover. Harleen falling for the Joker is just a classic case of his manipulation and charisma, but in this comic, you kind of can't help but think that maybe, just maybe, he's actually falling for her. But that's because the Joker is a really fucking good actor. There are times in this comic where he fucking emotes, like really fucking shows emotion on his face. He looks sorry and like he regrets holding her at gunpoint. He looks like he's actually interested in her. He gives her time and attention and showers her and love and eventually earns her trust to the eventual table fucking scene. And it does seem like he actually fucking cares, but he fucking don't, because he's a fucking Joker. Harleen Quinzel is a good person who drinks a unfortunate amount of booze and coffee and just doesn't fucking want to anymore, and the Joker fucking realizes that. He realizes that so much that he takes advantage of her vulnerability and her weakness and her kindness, and she falls in love with him, and it fucking sucks. There was just many points in this comic where I was like, no, don't run, get away from him. While reading this, I wanted nothing more for her to just walk away. It's like when you're rereading Killing Stalking and you're in the very beginning and you're just like, bum, no, run, get away, he's fucking crazy, but he doesn't, and he walks into the lion's den and gets trapped in the spider's web, and everything fucking happens, and it keeps fucking going, and it gets all the more tragic, and you're just like, god damn it, why didn't you turn the other way? Many times while reading this story, I wanted nothing more than just that, for her to just walk the fuck away and get away from him, and to maybe take a fucking vacation, take some time off. The research will be there, Arkham will be there, maybe there will be a breakout, but hey, at least you were in fucking Fiji and not here when the Batman was throwing down with Bane. But nope, that's not what fucking happens, because if that was what fucking happened, this will be an incredibly boring story. Me wanting a good ending just proves to you how much of a shit fucking writer I am, because I just want fucking people to be fucking happy. And then of course the ending happens and you have the big breakout scene that always happens, and she's there trying to save the Joker. And I'm not going to spoil the ending because you already know the ending, but there's still a lot of context and nuance here that you should read for yourself about the final leg of Harleen Quinzel turning into Harley Quinn. But even when reading the end of this comic, I was still in this mix of shock and desire and ultimately sadness. And you see Harleen in that first Harley Quinn outfit, and it is like, I didn't ask for this, Chief. I didn't. I want to quickly go over some of the other elements in this comic, starting with the artwork, because of course it is beautiful. Like I said, Steven is one of my favorite artists working right now. His art is just absolutely fantastic. The character designs especially are just so goddamn good. I mentioned before in my Game of Thrones comic video that usually when the movies come out, a lot of comics will redesign their characters to look more like the actors. I personally find the redesigns a bit tiring. Like, yeah, seeing Lando as Donald Glover is cool, but I want to see Lando as just Lando, like an artist's interpretation of Lando Calrissian. But in Harleen, the characters are freshly designed. There's no Margot Robbie in Harley Quinn, nor is there a Jared Leto or Joaquin Phoenix in the Joker. In fact, the Joker has undergone many a redesign, and the Joker and Harleen is probably not going to be a lot of people's favorite designs. But for this comic where Harley Quinn feels attraction towards the Joker, he works incredibly well. He does have elements elements that make him physically appealing. He kind of looks good in his comic, but at the same time, he looks like the crazy ass mass murderer that he actually is. You also see a lot of Harley Quinn references in here. I'm not just talking about the foreshadowing where she's wearing red and black, and she's also carrying the red and black umbrella in one panel, but you see some of her outfits in the story because this is being told from Harley's perspective back when she was Harleen Quinzel. But before that, while reading this comic, you do see her in some of her other outfits as Harley Quinn. Batman, of course, does play a part in this comic, but thankfully it doesn't take up a lot of time and it is not forced, which is very, very good. It would really, really suck just to have Batman in here because he's Batman and you need the fan service, but he is not incorporated into this comic for that reason. He's not here for fan service. He's here because Batman and Bruce Wayne are actual plot points in Harley Quinn's story. But we have to talk about Harvey fucking Dent. Harvey does get a subplot in here where he also goes down his own path of becoming Two-Face, and that origin is rewritten. Harvey is there from the beginning, and of course he just kind of gets the ball rolling leading up to the breakout at the end, and it is very smooth. Harvey Dent is kind of one of the best parts of this comic, but he also doesn't take away from the story at hand. Also, before I forget, the Joker is a despicable son of a bitch who you honestly can't help but love. I mean, he's the Joker, even when he's at his worst. Actually, I'm not going to go that far because I fucking hated Suicide Squad. So when I finished issue 3 for a brief moment, I really, really wanted more of this story. But then I realized that 3 books was absolutely perfect. I mean, each book is 60 full colored pages. You don't need so much or so little time to tell a story that you already know. But turns out that I didn't have to feel that way for long because I went online and found out that this is actually only arc 1. Steven has 2 more arcs planned, so this is the beginning. Arc 2 is going to be mad, do crime with the Joker, and arc 3 is going to be Harley outgrowing the Joker and leaving him for Ivy. By the way, Poison Ivy is of course in here, and she is very subtle in the story, but you get the hints. You get the fucking hint. Steven has said that he is very interested in Harley's relationship with Ivy and in Ivy as her own character. He's even planning on doing a Harleen style story of Ivy called Isley, where it explores her origin and how she became Poison Ivy. So yeah, the pacing is perfect. 3 issues is all you need, and even better, if you just read arc 1, it concludes in a way where you really don't have to read arc 2 and 3 if you don't want to. You can just stop it right there and you will be satisfied. But I am eager for more because I love Steven's interpretation and reimagining of this character in her beginning. I really can't wait to see what he does during that middle where she's with the Joker. There's just so much possibility there, and I have nothing but faith in him and in his project. So here is the TLDR. Here is why you should read Harleen. You should read Harleen because Harleen Quinzel was a woman. She was a normal, kind woman, a woman who was deeply flawed and deeply affected, but she still tried. And even when she was warned that the road to hell was paved with good intentions, she ignored it. She ignored it because she not only had faith in herself, but also in the people that she wanted to help get better. She was so goddamn stubborn about contributing to building a better world that she didn't listen. Harleen Quinzel was a kind woman, and that kindness was noticed, and it was taken advantage of, and that kindness was pulled apart like a thread until it snapped, leaving only a monster. If you want to check out and support Harleen, I honestly have no idea how you can do that. I personally like to get my comics locally from a local comic book shop. I don't like going onto the website. I don't like ordering comics directly from the source unless I have to. But right now, of course, visiting comic shops are out of the question. So you can either buy it from DC, you can pirate it. I really don't care what you do. Personally, I love Steven and I will support his work regardlessly. I'm just waiting for comic stores to open back up. I'm also waiting for this comic to kind of settle more to see if I want the individual issues or if I want the hardcover. I think I want the hardcover, but now when I buy books and comic books, they have to like really fucking matter to me. But again, I love Steven. I want to throw something his way. I want to continue to show him my support. So I'm waiting. So thank you so much for watching this video. I have more videos like these coming your way. I'm currently reading a comic called Sons of the Devil, which is about cults. I am almost done with this beauty right here, Kitchen Confidential. I'm trying to work my way through it, but life has been slow when it comes to reading. But when I'm done with this, there will be a video on it. And I've been reading a lot of horny shit. Because I'm me, and that's what I do the best. I just read a lot of fucking horny shit. If you like this video, please tell me in the comments, or you can follow me on Twitter and tell me there. There is also a Discord server that you can join. Link will be in the description. Be warned, we have Waifu Gacha, so the server quite often blows up because we're rolling for waifus, so feel free to fucking mute it. But until then, I will be patiently awaiting the return of Harleen in her second arc, and I will be returning to it in hopefully a more timely manner. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and tell me what you think about Harleen. Alright, cool, thanks. Bye.